There's two things that signal the end of spring and beginning of summer. One is Memorial Day weekend, and we just put that behind us. And the second is when the bluegills start coming shallow and biting like crazy. We're gonna go put the boat in the water and show you how to catch them this week on the water. You know, these bluegills are just getting to the shallows. There's a lot of people with cabins along this shoreline, and this is really neat because what's going on is these fish are all finally getting shallow, but there's a few keys to catching them too. And I mean, that's a dynamite bluegill. I'll eat him any day of the week, but there's a few keys to catching these fish, and I want to explain to you what the keys are, because if you follow this, you're gonna catch fish. Number one is I'm pitching docks, because these fish, they're not bedded up yet. They're not spawning. So they're actually looking for some cover. This bluegill, he's laying underneath a dock, and I'm pitching right up, but not all docks are created equal, okay? I'm actually holding my boat out in about 6 feet, and we'll show you on the map. There's a pretty good drop here, and what you need is a drop to deep water as well. There were storms all weekend, and these fish were sliding down into the deep water, and now they're coming back up. You really need that deep water nearby. If you can find that and then combine it with one more thing, and that's weed growth. And if you look in here, there's a bunch of weed growth starting to pop up, and that's why these gills are up in here. They're coming out of the deep water, they're finding cover, which is the dock, and then they're also hanging out where there's some weed growth. They're a little ways away from spawning yet, but it's coming, and they're all getting here. This is just too much fun catching fish like this. Got him. You know, this dock fishing, I should really point out that the truth of fishing docks is that you can't just pull up to any dock and start catching them. This is another great gill. Let's get him in here. Oh yeah, another perfect dinner fish right there. But you know what? Not all these docks are created equal. Let me explain to you what I'm talking about. The one I'm fishing right here has an L on it. And I really like that because it's got more cover for the fish out in deeper water. Any dock with a T is gonna have that same cover out in deeper water, because ultimately, if you just fish a dock that's straight out, what you find is you might only have a 4x4 square that those fish are willing to sit under. Where here, these fish have 10 feet by probably another 6 or 8 feet to sit under. And that's why I'm casting both sides of the dock and the front, because all those fish are in different staging locations underneath there. Make sure you're fishing the right type of dock and you'll catch more fish. There he goes. Pretty automatic right here, ain't it? Got him that time. Missed a couple of them there, and you know, that's just part of bluegill fishing. I'll tell you, the presentation I'm using is just so simple too. And you can come out and do this with the kids, and it's fun for adults. Let's get him in the boat and let me show you what we're doing. Another dinner-sized fish. But here's the simple presentation I'm using. This is a thill crappie cork. What's really cool about this cork is it comes with either a spring or it can be used as a slip float. Today I'm using it as a spring because I'm only in about 4 feet of water. I'm sitting in the boat right about 6 and I'm casting into 4. Now the other thing you can do, and let's just lay that fish down here, is you can use a simple bubblegum float too. This is a couple different versions of bubblegum floats that'll work just as well as that crappie cork. These are both slips. You can buy them in spring as well. And they're just real simple. You pick them up right out of a bulk bin. All said and done though, there's a couple things I'm doing a little bit different to catch these fish, and I want you to keep this in mind. When I pull up to a dock, I'm usually only catching 1 or 2 fish per dock, and here's why. These fish are really territorial right now. The water's only 64 degrees, so they're not bedding yet. They're in there getting ready, and they'll actually chase each other out because they're trying to establish some dominance in an area where they can make their beds to spawn. So keep that in mind. Keep moving. All we've done, we've just come dock to dock all the way down, picking those right docks. And if you do that, you'll catch a lot of fish. The other thing I'm doing is, a few weeks ago we were crappie fishing when the crappies were in on the beds. And what we're doing different now is when I make a cast and I'm comfortable with where that bobber lined up, I'll leave it sit for a minute and then I'll just give it a pull. When we were crappie fishing, it was constant movement. Okay, you actually had to swim that jig back underneath the bobber. You don't want to do that here. These bluegills will spend more time looking at it, and a lot of times when you pull a little bit and then let back, that's when they'll take it down. So keep that in mind. It's not always about constant movement with these gills. I'm gonna get you, Bubba. Got him. Seem to be on a bit of an automatic dock right now. Every now and then you run into one of these. The key to this dock is, like we talked about earlier, there's deep water nearby, so I think it's replenishing nonstop. But this week, I'm looking at the weather forecast and it looks like we're gonna still continue with some of these cold nights. I'm seeing some 40s for lows. Fortunately, though, it looks like things are going to finally settle down a little bit, and this weather pattern is going to change. We're going to get away from some of these storms, get a little bit more into some stability. But what's going to happen here is this water is only 64 degrees, and these sunfish are going to go up and actually spawn somewhere around 70. So they're going to keep filtering in here, which means this. While those temps are going to warm up slow, it's going to provide great fishing for the next couple weeks. So come on in here, bring your leeches and your night crawlers. I'm getting bigger fish when I throw out a leech than I am on a night crawler. Just a little chunk of night crawler seems to get numbers though. So if you got the kids out, go with that option. I'll tell you what, it's just one after another. They're great table fare at this time of the year, and they're gonna be easy to catch for the next couple weeks. It doesn't matter how old you are. Catching bluegills is just a ton of fun. There's nothing quite like watching a bobber go down. Keys to the catch today, we're finding the right docks. When I say finding the right docks, they had to have two characteristics. One is they had to be near deep water. The end of the dock needed to be in 4 to 5 feet of water, but it needed to drop off. A lot of times I was holding my boat out in 11 feet of water and casting up there. Those fish are still using the deep water and the shallow water every day. So until the water really warms up and hits that 70 degrees, you're going to need a combination of both deep and shallow. The other key was the shape of the dock. The best docks had a T on the end or an L. It just provides more surface area, more room for those fish to hide underneath that dock, stay in the shade, and ambush bait. Check back next week for more current and up-to-date information from your favorite lakes and rivers. I'm John Thielen. We'll catch you next time.